Horror is subjective. Things that terrify one person might not scare another. But what I find most terrifying is what's real. Being a fan of horror is a paradox. It involves seeking a thrill you become numb to the more you consume it. I love the genre, but it can be hard to find myself in front of a movie that actually scares me. The Black Phone is a thriller horror movie released in 2021, directed by Scott Derrickson, and based off a short story with the same title by Joe Hill, the son of famous author Stephen King. While the trailer for the sequel was showing a paranormal premise, I was shocked to find in the original film, the grabber isn't a spirit or even entity, he's just a man. The plot takes place in North Dakota, 1978. The town is haunted by a looming threat of a serial killer dubbed the Grabber, and his next victim is a 13-year-old boy named Finney Blake. Finney lives with his abusive father and his younger sister Gwen, who's a spiritual connection through her dreams. Gwen learns facts about crime scenes that there's no way she could have known. After Finney's friend Robin is taken, he is the next to go. And in the actual kidnapping scene, you can see there's a lot of direct intent for what is actually happening here, showing a large level of experience. The grabber spills his groceries everywhere before getting help from Finney by having him pass his hat. And there's a brief instance where you can actually see him look around in case there's any possible witnesses, before then announcing himself to be a magician, preying upon Finney's childlike wonder. Finney briefly notices the black balloons before he's quickly chloroformed and taken. Finney then wakes up in the basement and has a brief interaction with the grabber. He discovers the rest of the basement, including the barred up window above, a small bathroom, and most interestingly, a disconnected black phone. The grabber mentions that it hasn't worked since his boyhood, which could imply abuse, but I want to talk about that more later on. He also mentions that sometimes it'll ring out, but believes it just to be static electricity and beckons Finney just to hang it up. For the rest of the film, we have a pretty solid formula, where Finney meets with the past victims who all give him advice on how they tried to escape, which all culminates at the very end, while by using all of these things, Finney is able to kill the grabber, finally standing up for himself the way Robin wishes he would. There's also a B story featuring Gwen trying to track down Finney's location using the help of the police and her prophetic dreams. This is a super concise summary of the story. There's a lot more that happens, and I recommend watching it. I just didn't want to fill this entire video just like going over everything. Watching this movie with no knowledge of what's to come has probably been one of the most tense movie viewing experiences I've had in a very long time. I felt this constant tension in my chest that I haven't felt since I watched Ringu for the first time, which is one of my favorite movies ever, by the way. After watching the movie, I was blown away by this feeling. But I started to ask myself a question: what made this movie so tense to watch through? And that's the concept I want to explore through notable scenes throughout the movie, and my own personal interpretation of the themes and acting. The 1970s saw a disturbing rise in serial killers who left a dark mark on American history. Figures like Ted Bundy, the Zodiac Killer, and most infamously, John Wayne Gacy, nicknamed the Killer Clown. In 1978, Gacy confessed to the sexual assault and murder of approximately 33 teenage boys, hiding many of their bodies beneath his house. Director Scott Derrickson has acknowledged Gacy's influence while creating the grabber and the black phone. To avoid drawing too close a parallel, the character was reimagined to be a magician rather than clown, yet the parallels remain unmistakable, even in the nature of the crimes. In this same interview, Derrickson confirmed that the grabber is a predator who assaults his victims, though it's implied that his actions may stem from some deep-rooted childhood trauma as well. One victim mentions a disturbing game called Naughty Boy, where children are beaten with a belt if they attempt to leave the basement without permission. This mirrors the implied abuse in the grabber's own past, possibly having been locked in the same basement and punished similarly. He seems to recreate this dynamic, exerting dominance not just over his victims, but also over the audience, who experiences this all through Finney's eyes. I think this can be best seen in a chilling moment earlier on, where the grabber brushes the hair from Finney's face, a subtle yet deeply unsettling display of power and control. The acting in The Black Phone is nothing short of fantastic. Every scene with Ethan Hawke radiates tension and unease. His portrayal of the grabber carries an erratic energy, emphasized not only through his different masks, but also subtle vocal changes. At times, he uses a higher, almost gentle voice in an attempt to sound friendly, especially early on when speaking to Finney. Later on, when Finney lies about his name, Hawke's tone suddenly deepens, becoming more threatening and cold, and brings memories of being a child in front of an angry adult. It captures this innate fear of being in trouble. Of course, it's impossible to talk about this film's amazing acting without praising the performances from the child actors. In many films, especially horror, child performances can really fall flat. Mason Thames, in his breakout role as Finney, delivers a truly believable and emotional performance. One standout moment comes about an hour and 20 minutes in, when Finney breaks down upon realizing that he just can't escape the basement in a scene that just feels way too real. Madeleine McGraw, playing Finney's sister Gwen, matches that intensity with a raw and emotional performance. In an early scene, she's beaten by her abusive father, and she's forced to repeat a phrase in compliance. On her final repetition, her delivery is full of rage and defiance, a line that was reportedly improvised on set. These emotionally charged moments, combined with strong performances across the board, pull the audience deeper into the children's fear and trauma, making the threat of the grabber feel all the more real. The film opens with a minute-long credit sequence featuring flickering images of missing children's posters, abandoned personal items, and injuries, all set to a distorted and unsettling soundtrack. The soundtrack incorporates warped sirens and ambient noise, creating a discomforting atmosphere that immediately establishes the film's tone right at the perfect moment. For setting, much of the movie takes place in a single location, the basement. It's stark, tall, and made of bare concrete, emphasizing Finney's isolation and how vulnerable he is, as the space dwarfs him, makes him powerless visually, and especially when the grabber enters the frame, towering over him and blocking the only exit. It's a bold creative decision to set so much of the narrative in one confined space, a choice rarely seen outside of films like the original Saw, but here it works wonders. The confined setting creates a constant sense of tension, with the clock ticking between Gwen's efforts to find Finney and the grabber's unpredictable moods. Visually speaking, the film delivers several standout moments, particularly the scenes where Finney communicates with the ghosts of grabber's past victims. Though he can't see them, they move through the space around him, interact with the environment, and speak to him. The way these sequences are shot adds a surreal, haunting quality to the film, reminding the viewer of the past lives lost in the basement that haunts the film's narrative. I think it's obvious to say that I adore this movie. It captures a tension that calls back to a different time, one of stranger danger PSAs in suburbia. As a child, I often found myself told to be safe, never open doors for strangers, don't go after dark, don't trust strangers. So then, when I watched The Black Phone for the first time, I found myself back in the shoes of a young child with innate paranoia that never found itself validated. But this film shows that sometimes that paranoia does come true. There's a horror in reality. It's easy to forget people are capable of horrible things until they happen, but this is the kind of movie that doesn't let you forget that. I haven't really made a video like this before, so if you guys enjoyed this video, please just drop a like or a comment. If this does well, I have another one lined up where I want to talk about an actual killer clown.